Mom and Dad, are you ready?
Today's word is stupendous.
You need some encouragement.
Hey, Stu and Lisa, this is David Ellis. I live in Austin, Texas.
You need some inspiration.
Thank you for coming back. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, loves that word. Stupendous!
You're listening to the Stupendous Marriage Show.
Hello and welcome to the Stupendous Marriage Show. I'm Stu Gray.
Hey, I'm Lisa Gray.
What's going on?
How are your new glasses?
I feel like I got old this week because I got bifocal lenses. I couldn't do the progressive lenses, and your mom works in the glasses industry, and
Right.
she was giving me a hard time because I just couldn't figure out like how to make the progressive things work. Like the lens is no different, but apparently the prescription is kind of in an hourglass shape, if you can understand that kind of image. So whatever prescription I have to see normally, I'd have to point my head at whatever I was looking at to see clearly.
Right.
And everything else was fuzzy, like all its peripheral vision was fuzzy, and so I could never figure that out. And so I said, look, I don't want to do the progressive lenses. I'm just gonna get bifocals. And she gave me such a hard time because I'm gonna have a line, and there's gonna be a line in your glasses, and I'm like, I just want to be able to read, you know? So I've been holding books far away from my eyeballs, and it's like, wow, this is not fun. But I was just sitting here at the computer going, oh, I can't look through the bifocal part. I can't look through the regular part because that's fuzzy, and now that's blurry. So I'm getting used to them. I'm good. Thanks. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, that's why I had to bring it up.
Yeah,
you,
right.
right before we started recording, we're like doing these weird faces you've been doing lately where you're trying to figure it out.
So the line right here for anybody who wears the bifocals.
Because you can all see the right here.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
On the show.
You have to look above or below it, and it's kind of like there's this fuzzy part there, and you just kind of have to get used to that. It's like, wow, you just have to get used to it.
Well, they look good, if that matters at all. I guess it probably doesn't for function, but...
Right, yeah, because you really can't see the line, unless you're like really, really, really looking at my eyes. So.
Yeah, no, they look really good. I like them. So they're a little bigger than the other ones you had, but we'll have to post a picture so everybody can see how handsome you are.
Oh, okay.
So last week we were talking about something that our pastors had said about offense and taking offense versus receiving offense, and just want to talk about that for a minute. So did you have any additional thoughts on that this week?
After we did that show, I thought about Brant, Hansen, who I used to work with at Way FM. He wrote a book called Unoffendable, and I wrote about it in our weekly email, and you can subscribe to that email easily at stupendousmarriage.com/subscribe if you want to keep up with the show and keep up with our weekly emails. So Brant wrote this book a couple years back about being unoffendable, and that's the point of the book. It's like, as people of faith, we should not be offended at everything that happens. And there are a lot of things that go on in this world, and a lot of people get angry and upset, and they take offense. That's kind of the phrase that our pastor uses. But Jesus didn't get offended when he was beaten and tortured and spit upon and hung upon a cross. He said, Lord, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing.
Right.
And so it's just a powerful, powerful book because it's so easy to get upset. I think my default is to get upset. My default is to be offended when my expectation isn't met, or a problem happens and something doesn't look like I think it should happen. I have my picture in my head and I get upset about it, or someone says something that isn't meant to be an offense, but I take it as an offense and I put it on myself. And I don't know. I think it's a great thing to think about, especially in marriage, because we're two different people. We're trying to make a life, make a family, make a living, and you're going to rub up against the elbows and pointy parts of this other person.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to be offended, and you could live your life in offense.
And that was the thing for me. I think when I came to that revelation a couple years ago that offense is really optional, it was mind-blowing, because all my life people would do things to offend me and I just automatically was offended. Like, I just had no other response. Somebody did something and they weren't nice, or they said something And I would just automatically be like, back off, and be offended. And when the Lord revealed that to me, it was like, oh my gosh, I can pause and I can go, do I want to be offended? Do I not want to be offended? And there's many times I know in our relationship with our son, with clients in real estate, everyday life, that something happens that could very easily be offensive. I've had that happen at Walmart, where somebody's just a jerk to you. And I just have to stop and go, Lord, what is the root of this? And please don't let me be offended. There's many a times that I walk out of the room from you or from Dean, and I have to literally out loud say, Lord, please don't let me take offense to that, especially when I'm in a good headspace to be able to do that. It's not perfect because there's still times that my automatic response kicks in and I'm mad and offended. But when I'm able to stop and go, I don't want to be offended because I know something else is going on. Something else is deeper is happening with you guys that might be causing you to be rude or short or whatever the case may be.
Well, and even if it's not something that comes from the other person that's rude or short, it's just misspeaking or something that's said inappropriately or wrong. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to make a joke and you don't get it and you're upset by that. I do that more often than not. I don't understand quite what you're saying. And so I go, well, what does that mean? So reading into things, which is my own issue. And I would say that I'm probably not as good about dropping offense as quickly as you are. I kind of run down that train a little bit further down the track, unfortunately.
I would agree with that. I'm sorry. I love you. But yes. And it may just be your personality because you're more of a deep thinker, whereas I'm an outside processor.
Right.
And so when the thought goes in, I just have as far to go. Like, it's just not as deep for me. I'm serious. And so very quickly I'm able, sometimes, not all the time, to be able to go, stop, not going to go there.
Well, and I've probably talked about this on the show before. I'm also one of those people who in the moment doesn't like to cause a rift. And I'll let someone kind of dump on me and I won't have anything to say but, okay, thanks, appreciate it, and walk away. And an hour later, I will have 55 things come to my mind that I would like to say. And it's like, why can't I do that in the moment? And it's probably good that I can't do that in the moment. But another thing that you've already talked about, it's you get the trigger and then there's a response, but between the trigger and our response is the pause. And in that pause, we have to decide, what are we going to do? And I'm not great at it, and I'm learning about it. And just that phrase keeps coming up from our pastors. You take offense, it's not given to you. And then thinking through Brant's book, which I'd like to go through and read again, being unoffendable. Can we do that? Can we not automatically go to upset places and to let things kind of float off of us and be more like Jesus in the way we operate in this world and ask for God's grace and his kingdom to come when we have a communication or a miscommunication where we could be offended by somebody else?
Well, and there's that verse, we do not war with flesh, but with spiritual things. And that's the thing, I think, a lot of times when I'm in a good headspace that I'm able to use as my, I don't want to say my ammunition, but my reasoning to not take offense. Because if I can take that pause and I can go, he loves me. He's not meaning to put me down by that phrase. He's not meaning to talk badly to me or anything like that. And I can go, okay, what else? With the bigger picture, what else is going on? Is the enemy getting in his head? Being a deeper thinker, there's a lot of times that you are having this self-talk going on in your head.
Let's not even go there. That's a whole nother show. Thank you.
Maybe we can talk about that next week, because I think that's something that we've both really learned a lot about over the past couple years, is the self-talk that we have going on in our head. And so if I'm able to stop and go, wait a minute, the enemy, it's not about you. I'm not going to put it on you that you're meaning to say that or react that way. But chances are there's something else going on deeper. And it could be the enemy is trying to put things into your head and trying to cause division. And I just refuse to allow division to happen as much as I can in my life, because life is too short. I mean, it's just like it needs to get away from me. And so that is what taking offense does, is it 9 times out of 10 does nothing but cause division in whatever relationship you're in.
Yes.
Well, coming up next, we have the email for today.
If you've got a question for marriage, you can send us a voicemail. 615-592-1060, 1-615-592-1060, or on air at stupendousmarriage.com. Here's the email for today. I keep hurting my wife through my actions or lack of them. I'm afraid that the damage I've caused her and my marriage may be irreparable. We're financially tapped. I've not landed but only one single job interview while my wife busts her butt working 60 to 80-hour weeks, standing for 95% of the time, which usually includes Saturdays. I would like to know a few small things I could do so that my wife might know that I still love her, that I appreciate all that she does. I apparently take her for granted, so I need to change my ways or my wife will surely take off. We appreciate that email.
We were talking earlier about the spiritual warfare, and finances, it seems like, is an area that the enemy likes to really attack marriages. Either one spouse can't find a job, the other spouse works too much and it doesn't get help. Whatever the case may be, it seems like a lot of times finances are an area that is a big topic for discussion in marriage. And so the first thing I would say about that, we were very fortunate that when we were dating, we came from such different backgrounds financially of how we handled our money, how we made money, what money meant to us, that I think if we had not gotten on the same page early in our relationship, that really could have been a problem for us. We did Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University. There's a lot of different options out there, but what that did for us is it really helped us to learn about money and how to see money differently. Because the only thing I was thinking as you're reading that email is she's working her tail off all the time. He's not able to work as much or not working at all, and that's causing an imbalance because of the finances. And so is there something that first they can sit down and figure out? Are they on a budget? Is there a way to cut back where not as much money is needed? Are there any options there to work on that together, to communicate together about their finances?
Absolutely. We call it financial intimacy. I mean, intimacy doesn't just happen sexually. There are lots of ways that you can be intimate as a couple, and your finances is one of those. And growing in communication about finances and what that looks like in your family and how to budget and how to make the dollars go further at the end of the month is super, super important. So it relieves some of the stress in your marriage. Now, as a guy, from a guy, I get this email and I go, man, you got to find some work to do. Because in our brokenness, we tend to think of ourselves in terms of what we do and how we bring in money. If you're just sitting there and not doing anything, I'm not saying you should make that the be-all, end-all, but really, you also need to be carrying weight. And actually, you've already mentioned Dave Ramsey. One of Dave's buddies, Dan Miller, has great resources. It's called 48 Days to the Work You Love. He's got a podcast. He's got tons of things and pretty much talks about, finding the things that you love to do in your area that can spur you on to either create a business or find work that you love. But I really think that's part of the issue when you're sitting on your butt not doing anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like David in the Bible, he was supposed to be at war and out at battle when he had the affair with Bathsheba. The Bible says in the season when kings were supposed to be at war, David was not.
Yeah.
And so not that you need to be at war, not that I'm saying you're doing anything sidetracking your wife. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying you're made for something. I'm just trying to call you out, man. I'm just wanting to encourage you that you can find something to do, and there is a lot of work out there and things that you can find to do that can also bring money and value to your family.
Well, and it doesn't have to be that you're going to go get a job doing your lifelong dream either.
Right.
Whatever it is to be able to take some of the load off your wife, I think anything at all, and also not even just like a traditional job. Are there other things, creative things that you can come up with to be able to help make income that will help her and take some of the pressure off of her. Maybe not a traditional job, but something where, we've had friends who they buy stuff and they sell it on Amazon. Being creative and thinking of things that you might be able to do to bring some income in just to alleviate her, I think would be very appreciated.
Absolutely. You said, how can you show her appreciation? That might be one way to do it is by, getting out there and trying to find more work for yourself, but also visiting her at work, showing her love. What is her love language? How does she like to receive love? How is it by serving her? Is it by picking up the house when she's at work? Is it by taking her flowers? Is it buying her lunch? Is it making her coffee in the morning? Is it rubbing her feet when she gets home? Because you said she stands a whole lot of the time. What does that look like? And knowing her love language and then speaking to her, metaphorically speaking, in that language will show that you do appreciate her.
Absolutely. When you read the email and it said she works 60 to 80 hours a week, I thought she better not be cleaning that house. She should not be at the grocery store buying groceries. She should not be dealing with the kids and homework. I mean, if he is not working and she's working 60 to 80 hours, he needs to step up and take on the household manager stuff. And I think that's a lot of times in society in general. Everybody thinks that the only value in a home is if you're doing something that brings in income. Well, she can't be working 60, 80 hours a week efficiently if you are not walking with her as her partner, taking on the other things that your life involves. I know you and I have had those seasons. Last year when you're teaching full-time, I had to step back into some of the household management stuff because you were so busy teaching. I wasn't as busy in real estate, and I had to step up and do some stuff I had not done in several years because I had gotten, honestly, kind of spoiled with you just handling all that stuff. And that's kind of a mental shift. It has to go from, it's not all about where the income's coming from. It's about working together as a team to accomplish the goal of providing for your family, taking care of your family, managing everything in your household, because all that has to happen. And honestly, over the years, I would not have been able to do the things that I have done in real estate if you had not been handling things at the house while you were also doing voiceover and doing your different things. And then last year, I was able to return that and be able to serve the family in that capacity. So there's plenty of work.
Oh, sure.
In most marriages and most households, there's plenty of quote unquote work to do. I just think oftentimes men think, no offense, that...
Well, and that's what I just said to him. I said, go get a job, and you're coming from a different angle, which is cool. I'm glad you brought that up because that's a great, great point.
And that can definitely, if she feels like she is going to work and the income is coming through her, but she can come home and just chill because you've handled everything else. I know most women I know would be like, that's awesome.
It seems like tough love answer to this email. So
it does.
Sorry, and thank you for the email. Hopefully that helps and gives you some thoughts and ideas on, how to love your wife well and maybe step up around the house or maybe go find a gig. If you want to ask us a question, you can definitely do that on air at stupendousmarriage.com or the new number 1-615-592-1060.
We have a Facebook page set up, so if you're on Facebook, you can go there, find us there, and then share from there. That's a great place to tell people about us and what we're doing.
Just search at Stupendous Marriage Show. We should pop up. We'll talk to you next time.
See ya.